The day my daughter-in-law told me I was too much trouble around the kids. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't even ask her what she meant. I simply looked at her, smiled, and said, "Okay." She had no idea that one word was about to change her entire life, because for 7 years, I had been the person holding her family together whenever she needed something. I picked up her children from school. I made dinner when she worked late. I stayed overnight when one of the kids was sick. I drove them to soccer practice, dentist appointments, birthday parties, and piano lessons. I paid for summer camps when my son was short on money, and whenever my daughter-in-law called and said, "Mom, can you help me?" I came every single time. I thought that was what family did. I thought love meant showing up. I was wrong. My name is Margaret Hayes. I was 62 years old when I learned the most painful lesson of my life. Sometimes the people you sacrifice everything for don't see your love as love. They see it as a service. And the moment you stop providing that service, they suddenly realize what you were worth. It started on a Tuesday afternoon. I was sitting at my kitchen table, drinking coffee, when my phone rang. It was my son, Daniel. "Mom, can you pick up Emma and Noah from school today?" I smiled. "Of course." "Thanks, Mom. Sarah has a meeting at 3 and I'm stuck at work. Don't worry about it." That was my answer to everything. Don't worry about it. I grabbed my purse, got into my car, and drove to the elementary school. Emma came running toward me the second she saw my car. "Grandma!" She jumped into my arms. Noah followed behind her, carrying his backpack. "Grandma, are we having your spaghetti tonight?" I laughed. "Only if you promise not to complain about the vegetables." He grinned. "No promises. Those moments were everything to me. After my husband died, my grandchildren became the brightest part of my life. They gave me a reason to get out of bed, a reason to cook, a reason to laugh. And I believed they loved having me around just as much as I loved being around them. That evening, I made spaghetti, garlic bread, and chocolate chip cookies. Emma helped me set the table. Noah tried to sneak cookies before dinner. I caught him. He laughed. Everything felt normal until Sarah came home. She walked through the front door, dropped her purse on the counter, and sighed. "Mom, you didn't have to make all this." I smiled. "I know." She stared at the kitchen, then she looked at me. "You're here a lot lately." I laughed softly. "I've been helping Daniel with the kids." "I know." Her voice was different, cold, controlled. I looked at her carefully. "Is something wrong?" She folded her arms. "Can we talk?" Daniel walked into the kitchen behind her. Immediately, I knew something was wrong. He wouldn't look at me. Sarah took a breath. "Margaret, we appreciate everything you've done." That sentence, those words. Whenever someone starts a conversation with, "We appreciate everything you've done," something terrible usually comes next, she continued. "But lately, it's becoming too much." I blinked. "Too much? You're around the kids constantly." I looked at Daniel. He remained silent. "I thought you wanted me to help." "We did," she said. "But there's helping and then there's interfering." My heart sank. "Interfering?" Sarah nodded. "You have opinions about everything. I only give advice when you ask. You comment on what they eat. I'm their grandmother. You question our parenting. I've never questioned your parenting." She laughed bitterly. "See? This is exactly what I mean." I stared at her, the woman I had defended for years, the woman I had helped through 2 pregnancies, the woman whose hospital bills I had quietly paid when insurance wouldn't cover everything. She looked at me like I was a burden. Then she said the sentence I would never forget. "You're just too much trouble around the kids." The room went silent. I looked at Daniel. He finally met my eyes. "Mom," I raised my hand. No, my voice was calm, almost frighteningly calm. I looked back at Sarah. "Okay." She seemed surprised. "That's it?" I smiled. "What else should I say?" She shrugged. "I just think we need boundaries. You're right." I stood up. I should have understood that sooner. Daniel looked confused. "Mom, don't take it personally." I picked up my purse. "Oh, I'm not." I walked toward the door, then I turned around. "For the record, Sarah, you won't have to worry about me being too much trouble anymore." She nodded. "Thank you." I smiled. "You're welcome." And I left. That was the last time I helped them. At least for a while. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Sarah. "Can you take Emma to school?" "No, silence." "What? I can't." "But you're free." "I am." "So why can't you?" "Because you said my involvement was too much." She laughed nervously. "Oh, Margaret, I didn't mean it like that." "I think you did." She sighed. "We're family." "I agree. Then family helps each other." I stared at the wall. That's exactly what I thought. I hung up. 20 minutes later, Daniel called. "Mom, please." "No, it's one morning." "I know. Sarah has an important meeting. I hope it goes well." "Mom." "I love you, Daniel." "Then help us." "I am helping." "How?" "By respecting the boundaries your wife asked for." He became silent. Then he said quietly, "You're really doing this." "I'm doing exactly what you both asked me to do." And I ended the call. That afternoon, I sat alone in my house for the first time in 7 years. My phone wasn't buzzing with requests. No school pickup, no emergency babysitting, no grocery runs. No, "Mom, can you just..." And strangely enough, I felt peaceful. But peace didn't last long. 3 days later, Sarah showed up at my door. She didn't knock politely. She pounded on it. When I opened it, she walked inside. "Where were you yesterday?" I frowned. "Excuse me, you didn't answer your phone." "I was busy." "Doing what?" I smiled. "Living my life." She stared at me. "We needed you." "I'm sorry." Emma had a fever. My expression changed. "Is she okay?" "She is now." "Good." Sarah looked furious. "You could have helped. I could have. But you didn't." "No." She stepped closer. "You're punishing us." I shook my head. "No, I'm listening to you." "You're being ridiculous." "No, Sarah. I'm finally taking you seriously." She crossed her arms. "We never said you couldn't see the kids. You said I was too much trouble around them. That doesn't mean you disappear." I looked directly into her eyes. "What exactly does it mean?" She didn't answer. "So I did. It means I stopped doing everything you took for granted." Her face changed. "You can't do that." I almost laughed. "Can't I? You're their grandmother." "Yes." "And they need you." "Yes." "Then act like it." I stared at her for several seconds. "No," she looked stunned. "No, no, I'm going to act like their grandmother, not their unpaid nanny." Her mouth dropped open. "I can't believe you're saying this. You told me I was a problem. You are twisting my words." "No, Sarah, I'm finally hearing them." She walked out. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. Over the next 2 weeks, everything started falling apart. Daniel and Sarah had built their entire routine around me. They hadn't realized it. They didn't have backup childcare. They had forgotten how many things I handled. Suddenly, they were paying for after-school programs. They were leaving work early. They were hiring babysitters. And every time they received a bill, they remembered me. But instead of apologizing, Sarah became angrier. Then one Friday evening, Daniel called. "Mom, I need to ask you something." "What? Are you really serious about not helping anymore?" "Yes." He exhaled. "Sarah thinks you're trying to hurt us." "No. She says you're being selfish." I closed my eyes. "Daniel, do you remember when your father died?" He went silent. "You were 29. You couldn't function. You stopped eating. You stopped sleeping." "I remember." "Who was there?" "You. Who helped you?" "You did." "Who paid your rent when you couldn't work?" He didn't answer. "I did." "Mom, who stayed up with you every night?" "I know. And when Sarah was pregnant with Emma, who drove her to the hospital at 2 in the morning? You did." I never complained. "I know." "And when Noah was born, you were there." I took a breath. "I wasn't keeping score, Daniel." "I know. But Sarah turned my love into a list of inconveniences." He whispered, "I'm sorry. That was the first time my son apologized. But it wasn't enough, because there was something neither of them knew. For years, I had been doing more than babysitting. Much more. After my husband died, I sold the small business we'd built together. It was a construction supply company. The sale left me with enough money to live comfortably. I never told Daniel exactly how much I had. I didn't want money to change our relationship. But 6 years earlier, when Daniel and Sarah wanted to buy their house, they couldn't afford the down payment. So I gave them $80,000. They thought it was an inheritance advance. It wasn't. It was a gift. I never asked for a penny back. And there was something else. The house they lived in? I owned part of it. The title documents were in my safe because Daniel had begged me to help them qualify for the mortgage. I agreed. But I had never told Sarah. Not because I wanted power, because I trusted my son. Until that trust began to disappear. Then, one afternoon, I received an email. It was from their mortgage lender. There had been a paperwork issue regarding the property ownership. They needed confirmation from me. I stared at the screen, and suddenly, I understood something. Sarah didn't just think I was too much trouble. She thought I had nothing left to offer. She was wrong, very wrong. A week later, Daniel and Sarah came to my house. They looked exhausted. Sarah sat across from me. We need to talk. I poured coffee. Go ahead. We've been thinking. That's usually a good thing. She didn't smile. We want you to start helping with the kids again. I looked at her. Why? Because they're struggling. I frowned. Are they? They miss you. That hurt because I knew that part was true. I missed them too, but I couldn't go back to the old arrangement, not after what happened. I miss them too. Then come back. I'll see them. Every weekend? Sometimes. Can you pick them up from school? No. Can you watch them while we work? No. Then what will you do? I looked at her. I'll be their grandmother. Sarah's eyes narrowed. You're making this difficult. No. I leaned forward. You made it difficult when you decided my love was a burden. Daniel looked down. Sarah stood. Fine. She grabbed her purse. We'll figure it out ourselves. I nodded. I hope you do. Then she said something that changed everything. You know, Mom, you can't control us just because you helped us financially. I froze. Who told you? She looked confused. Told me what? The financial help. She hesitated. Daniel told me. I turned toward my son. He looked terrified. Mom, I was going to tell her. When? I don't know. Sarah stepped forward. So now I know. I looked at her. You know what? That you have ownership in our house. The room became completely silent. Then Sarah smiled, not warmly, triumphantly. So you admit it? Yes. Then you can't just abandon us. I stared at her. I can. Her smile disappeared. You wouldn't. I reached into my desk drawer and pulled out a folder. I placed it on the table. Daniel's face went pale. What is that? The original ownership agreement. Sarah opened it. Her eyes moved across the pages, then stopped. What does this mean? It means I own 25% of the property. She looked at Daniel. You knew? He swallowed. Yes, her face turned red. You knew? I was going to tell you. You lied to me. Daniel stood. Sarah, calm down. She slammed the folder onto the table. So what? You're threatening to take our house now? No. Then what do you want? I looked at her. Nothing. She stared at me. Nothing. I don't want your house. Then why show me this? Because you accused me of using money to control you. I paused. I never did. She looked away. But you could. Yes. And you're saying you won't? I won't. She laughed bitterly. Then, what is this? A reminder of what? That I could have controlled your life. I leaned back. But I chose not to. Her expression changed. For the first time, she looked ashamed. I continued. You didn't lose my help because I wanted revenge. You lost it because you stopped treating me like family. Daniel sat down, his eyes filled with tears. Mom, I looked at him. I don't want your house. Then I slid another document across the table. I've signed my share over to you. Daniel stared at it. What? I'm giving you my 25%. Sarah looked shocked. Why? Because I never wanted your house. I stood. I wanted my family. No one spoke. I walked toward the window. My mistake was thinking I could buy love with sacrifice. Daniel began crying. I'm sorry. I turned around. Don't apologize because you're losing my help. He shook his head. No, then why? Because I let you become invisible. That sentence broke something inside me. I finally cried, not because I was angry, because my son had finally understood. Sarah wiped her eyes. Margaret, I looked at her. I was wrong. I didn't answer. I was overwhelmed, she continued. I felt like everyone was judging me. I thought you were trying to take over. I wasn't. I know that now. She stepped closer. I shouldn't have called you trouble. No. I shouldn't have treated you like free childcare. No. I shouldn't have made you feel unwanted. I nodded. That one hurt the most. She started crying. I know, for a long time, none of us spoke. Then Daniel walked over and hugged me. I held my son the way I had held him when he was a little boy. And for the first time in months, I felt like I had him back. But I still didn't return to the old life. I didn't become their permanent babysitter again. I didn't cook every night. I didn't answer every emergency call. Instead, we rebuilt our relationship differently. When I wanted to see my grandchildren, I called. When they wanted to see me, they came over. Sometimes I picked them up from school, but now it was because I wanted to, not because everyone expected it. And Sarah changed too. She started asking instead of demanding. She started saying thank you. Real thank you. Not the kind people say before asking for another favor. Months later, I was sitting in my backyard when Emma ran toward me. Grandma, I opened my arms. She jumped into them. I missed you. I missed you too. She pulled back and looked at me seriously. Mom says, you're not a babysitter. I laughed. She finally figured that out. Emma giggled, then Noah ran over. Grandma, can we make cookies? I looked at them. Absolutely. We walked inside together. That evening, while the cookies were baking, Sarah stood in the kitchen doorway. She watched us quietly, then she said, thank you. I looked at her. For what? For not giving up on us. I smiled. I almost did. I know. She nodded. And I deserved it. I didn't argue, because forgiveness doesn't mean pretending someone didn't hurt you. It means deciding their mistake doesn't get to own the rest of your life. I had stopped helping completely, and that was the revenge no one expected. I didn't destroy their marriage. I didn't take their house. I didn't expose their secrets. I didn't punish my grandchildren. I simply stopped giving away pieces of myself to people who treated those pieces like they were worthless. And somehow, that silence taught them more than anger ever could. Years later, I still remember that Tuesday afternoon, the day Sarah looked me in the eyes and said I was too much trouble. At the time, I thought she had rejected me. Now I understand something completely different. She didn't make me realize that I wasn't needed. She made me realize that I didn't need to earn my place in my own family. My worth was never measured by how many school pickups I made, or how many dinners I cooked, or how many emergencies I solved. I was their mother, their grandmother, a human being, and I deserved to be loved, even when I wasn't useful. So if you're listening to this, and someone has ever made you feel like you're only valuable when you're helping them, remember this. You don't have to disappear. You don't have to fight. You don't have to destroy them. Sometimes the strongest revenge is simply stepping back, letting people experience the life they built without your constant rescue. And if they come back, let them come back, because they finally understand your value. Not because they need another favor, because the moment you stop begging people to appreciate what you do for them is the moment you finally start appreciating yourself. And that was the day I stopped helping completely. It was also the day my family finally learned how to love me without needing anything from me. For the first time in years, my house was quiet, not peaceful. Quiet. There was a difference. Peace feels like freedom. Silence can feel like loss. I sat alone at my kitchen table the following Monday morning, staring at 2 untouched cups of coffee. One was mine. The other had always been Daniel's. He used to stop by before work. Sometimes he would sit for 10 minutes, sometimes an hour. Sometimes he would simply walk through the door, kiss my forehead, and say, "Mom, I'm exhausted," and I would know exactly what to do. I would make him breakfast. I would pack him lunch. I would listen. Now the chair across from me was empty. I told myself that was okay. I had wanted boundaries. I had asked for respect. So why did it hurt so much? My phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. A text from Daniel. "Mom, can I come over tonight?" I stared at the message for almost a minute, then I typed, "Of course." A few seconds later, another message appeared. "Alone?" That one made my heart sink. I knew immediately something was wrong. Yes, I replied. Thank you. That evening, Daniel arrived at 7. He didn't bring Sarah. He didn't bring the kids. He walked through the front door, looking 10 years older than he had the week before. His shoulders were slumped. His eyes were tired. I pointed toward the kitchen. Coffee? He nodded. Please. I poured him a cup and sat across from him. For a while, neither of us spoke. Finally, he said, Mom, I messed up. I looked at him. What happened? Sarah and I had a huge fight. I waited. She said I betrayed her. How? Because I didn't tell her everything about the house. I sighed. Daniel, you should have, I know. He rubbed his face. But I wasn't trying to hide anything from her. Then why didn't you tell her? He stared at his coffee. Because I was ashamed. Of what? Of needing you. That answer hurt more than I expected. I leaned back. Why would you be ashamed of needing your mother? Because Sarah kept saying you were doing too much. I looked at him. She said it so often that I started believing it. I felt something crack inside me, not anger. Something worse, sadness. Daniel, I should have defended you. Yes, he nodded. I should have told her how much you had done for us. Yes, I should have told her about the money. Yes. He looked at me, but I didn't. No, and when she called you trouble. He swallowed. I stayed quiet. I looked out the window. That was the part I couldn't forgive. I know. He began to cry. I was afraid of losing my marriage. I looked back at him. And you thought losing your mother was acceptable? He shook his head. No, but that's what happened. I know. His voice broke. I'm sorry. I reached across the table. For a second, I wanted to comfort him the way I always had. But something stopped me. Not because I didn't love him, because I was finally learning that love and rescue were not the same thing. You don't have to fix this tonight, I told him. He looked confused. Then what do I do? Tell the truth. About what? Everything, he nodded slowly. I will. Then he said something that changed the entire direction of our conversation. Mom, there's something else. My stomach tightened. What? He looked toward the hallway as if someone might be listening. Sarah found something. What? An old email. I frowned. From who? From Dad. My heart stopped. My husband had been dead for 8 years. There were very few things left that could still surprise me about him. What email? Daniel pulled his phone from his pocket. He opened a message. Then he turned the screen toward me. I read it. The email was dated 3 months before my husband died. The subject line said, About the company. I looked at Daniel. What does this mean? I don't know. I read the email again. There were only 3 sentences. I need you to trust me. The account is protected. If anything happens to me, Margaret will understand. Do not tell her until the right time. My hands started shaking. Who was this sent to? Daniel hesitated. His attorney. I looked at him. Why would Dad send something like this? I don't know. Where did you get it? Sarah found it while going through some old documents. I stared at the screen. My husband had never mentioned an account. Not once. I had thought I knew everything about our finances. Apparently, I didn't. What account? I whispered. Daniel shook his head. We're trying to find out. Who's we? He looked away. Sarah. I immediately became suspicious. Why is Sarah involved? She thinks it might have something to do with the house. I stared at him. What does she think she found? She thinks Dad left you something. I laughed bitterly. Your father died 8 years ago. If he left me something, why didn't the attorney tell me? That's what we're trying to figure out. I stood up. I don't want to figure it out. Mom, no. I walked toward the window. I don't want money. You don't know what it is. I don't care. Daniel stood. Mom, if Dad left something behind, you deserve to know. I turned around. You know what I deserve? He waited. I deserve peace. He nodded. And I finally have it. He walked toward me. But what if Dad's secret isn't about money? I froze. What do you mean? He took a breath. What if it's about something else? I looked at him. What else could it be? He didn't answer, because neither of us knew. That night, after Daniel left, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the email. The account is protected. If anything happens to me, Margaret will understand. Do not tell her until the right time. Why would my husband tell his attorney not to tell me? And what did the right time mean? At 2 in the morning, I finally got out of bed. I went into the closet. Behind an old box of Christmas decorations was a small metal safe. I hadn't opened it in years. Inside were our marriage certificate, insurance papers, old photographs, and a worn leather notebook belonging to my husband. I picked it up. I turned the pages. Most were filled with notes about the business, numbers, names, numbers. Then I saw something I'd never noticed before. A page near the back had one sentence written in his handwriting. Never let Daniel know until Margaret is ready. I stopped breathing. Why would my husband write my name? Why would he mention Daniel? And what was he protecting our son from? The next morning, I called the attorney whose name appeared in the email. His office receptionist answered. Good morning, Hayes and Miller. This is Margaret Hayes. There was a pause. Mrs. Hayes? Yes, how can I help you? I need to speak with Mr. Miller. May I ask what this is regarding? My husband. Another pause. I see. I found an old email. The receptionist suddenly sounded nervous. Mrs. Hayes, Mr. Miller is unavailable. I'll wait. He's in a meeting. I'll wait. He may be unavailable all morning. I'll wait until he is, she sighed. Mrs. Hayes, please. Silence. Then she said, I'll connect you. The phone clicked. A man's voice came through. Margaret? I closed my eyes. It was him, the same attorney who had handled my husband's estate. David, it's been a long time. Yes. How can I help you? I found an email. Silence. Then he asked, what email? I told him. There was another silence, longer this time. Finally, he said, where did you find it? On my son's phone. His voice changed. Your son has it. Yes. Does your daughter-in-law know about it? I froze. Why? Margaret, I need you to come to my office. Why? Because there are things your husband specifically instructed me not to discuss over the phone. My heart began pounding. What things? I can't tell you. David, I can only tell you this. He paused. Your husband didn't trust everyone around him. I gripped the phone. Who didn't he trust? I didn't say that, but you meant it. He sighed. I think you should come in when? Today. I looked at the clock. 10 o'clock? 10 is fine. I hung up. For the first time since my husband died, I felt afraid. Not because of what I might discover, because of what my husband might have known. At 9:45, I arrived at David Miller's office. He met me in the lobby. He looked older, tired, serious. He led me into a private conference room and closed the door. Then he placed a thick envelope on the table. My name was written across it. In my husband's handwriting, I stared at it. What's inside? David sat down. Your husband gave me this 2 weeks before he died. I couldn't move. Why didn't you give it to me? He told me not to. Why? He said you'd know when the time came. I looked at him. And now? He nodded. Now is the time. My hands trembled as I reached for the envelope. I opened it. Inside was a letter. I unfolded it, and the first sentence made my blood run cold. Margaret, if you're reading this, something has happened that I spent years trying to prevent. I stopped. David looked at me. Should I leave? I shook my head. No, I kept reading. There's something you need to know about Daniel. My eyes filled with tears. I looked up. What did my husband know about our son? David didn't answer. I looked back at the letter. The next line was even worse. I didn't tell you because I believed I was protecting our family. I swallowed hard. Then I read the final sentence on the first page. But if Sarah ever discovers the truth, she may use it against you. My heart stopped. I looked at David. Sarah? He nodded slowly. And suddenly, the entire story I thought I knew about my family began to fall apart because my husband hadn't left me a fortune. He had left me a warning, and whatever was inside that envelope was powerful enough to destroy the family I had spent my entire life trying to protect. I stared at the letter for what felt like an eternity. My hands were shaking. David, I whispered, what did my husband know about Sarah? The attorney didn't answer immediately. Instead, he opened a second file. This is the part your husband wanted you to understand. He pushed a document across the table. I looked down. It was a financial statement. My eyes widened. This account, David nodded. Your husband discovered that someone had been moving money from the family business before he died. My heart pounded. How much? Almost $300,000. I stared at him. Who? David looked directly into my eyes. Daniel. Everything inside me went still. No, Margaret. No, my son would never do that. He didn't take it for himself. I looked confused. Then why? David opened another document. This money was transferred to an account connected to Sarah's family. I couldn't breathe. I remembered the years, the emergencies, the financial struggles. The times Sarah had said they were barely making ends meet, and all those years I had blamed myself for not doing enough. I whispered, she knew. David nodded. She knew about the money. Does Daniel know? He didn't when your husband died. Then why did my husband blame him? He didn't. David pointed to the letter. He blamed himself. I looked down. My husband's handwriting blurred through my tears. I kept reading. Margaret, Daniel is not a thief. He was manipulated. Sarah convinced him that the money was an investment for their future. He trusted her. I confronted him, but before I could tell you everything, I became sick. I covered my mouth. The truth was worse than I had imagined. My husband had known. He had tried to protect our son, and he had died carrying that secret. But there was more. The final page contained one sentence that changed everything. If Sarah ever turns Daniel against you, don't fight her. Step away. Let her reveal herself. I stared at those words, then I understood. My husband had predicted exactly what was happening. The insults, the manipulation, the demands. The way Sarah slowly convinced Daniel that his mother was the problem. He had seen it coming, and he had left me the one weapon Sarah could never defeat, the truth. I left David's office without telling Daniel. I needed time. 3 days later, Sarah called. Margaret, we need to talk. I almost smiled. I agree. Can we come over? Yes. That evening, Daniel and Sarah walked into my house. Sarah looked nervous. Daniel looked confused. They sat across from me. Sarah spoke first. We've decided we need to settle things. Go ahead. She looked at Daniel, then back at me. We think it's best if you stop involving yourself in our family. I nodded. Okay. Daniel looked shocked. Mom, Sarah continued. You've already caused enough tension. I smiled. You're right. Sarah relaxed. Good. But before you leave, I said, there's something I'd like you both to see. I placed the old envelope on the table. Daniel looked at it. What's that? Your father's final letter. Sarah's face changed just for a second, but I saw it. Fear. Real fear. I opened the letter. Daniel read the first paragraph, then the second. Then he stopped. His face went pale. Mom. Sarah stood. We should go. Daniel looked at her. Why? Because this is private. No, he looked back at me. Keep reading. Sarah grabbed his arm. Daniel, please. He pulled away. Then he read the financial documents. His hands began shaking. Sarah. She said nothing. You told me that money came from your father's business. Silence. You said your father gave it to you. She started crying. I was scared. You lied to me. I was trying to help us. You stole it. I borrowed it. You stole it. Daniel's voice shook the room. He turned toward me. Mom, I didn't know. I know. I swear I didn't know. I believe you. Sarah began crying. You don't understand. I looked at her. No, my voice was calm. I understand perfectly. She stared at me. You've spent years convincing everyone that I was the problem. I paused. You called me controlling. Another pause. You called me interfering. I looked directly into her eyes. And then you called me too much trouble. She wiped her tears. I was wrong. No. I shook my head. You were afraid. She looked confused. Afraid of what? That the truth would catch up with you. The room became silent. Then I pushed another document across the table. It was a bank statement, the transfers, the dates, the account numbers. Everything. Sarah stared at it. You went through our finances. No. I looked at her. Your father-in-law did. Her face went white. He documented everything. Daniel picked up the statement. His hands trembled. How much? Sarah didn't answer. How much, Sarah? $287,000. Daniel dropped the paper. He looked devastated. Mom, I reached for his hand. He broke down. I'm sorry. This time, I pulled him into my arms. You were manipulated. I should have known. You trusted the wrong person. Sarah began crying harder. Margaret, please. I looked at her. I forgive you. She froze. What? I forgive you. She stared at me. But forgiveness doesn't mean you get access to my life. Her expression collapsed. I continued. You don't get my money. You don't get my time. You don't get to use my grandchildren to control me. And you don't get to decide whether I'm valuable. Daniel looked at me through tears. What happens now? I looked at him. You decide who you want to be. He nodded. And Sarah? I looked at her one final time. You have a choice, too. What choice? Tell the truth and rebuild what you destroyed. I paused. Or keep lying and lose everything. She sat there silently. For the first time, she had nothing left to say. No manipulation. No insults, no demands. Just silence. Months later, Sarah moved out. Daniel filed for divorce. It wasn't easy. There were lawyers, argument, court hearings, painful conversations. But Daniel eventually rebuilt his life, and I rebuilt mine. I sold my house and moved to a small place near the coast, not because I was running away, because I finally understood that starting over isn't failure. Sometimes it's freedom. Emma and Noah visited me every summer. And one afternoon, Emma asked me a question I'll never forget. Grandma, why don't you live with us anymore? I smiled. Because sometimes people need their own space. She thought about it, then asked, Are you happy? I looked at the ocean. I watched the sunlight shimmer across the water. And for the first time in years, I didn't have to pretend. Yes, I was happy, not because I had won, not because Sarah had lost, not because my husband had been right. I was happy because I had finally stopped measuring my worth by how much I could do for other people. I had stopped being the woman everyone called when they needed something. I had become the woman who knew when to say no, and that was my real revenge, not destroying Sarah, not taking her money, not exposing her secrets. It was walking away with my dignity intact. 1 year later, Daniel stood beside me on the beach. Mom? Yes, I finally understand. Understand what? He looked at the ocean. You never stopped loving us. I smiled. No, you just stopped letting us use your love. I looked at my son, and tears filled my eyes. That took me a long time to learn. He hugged me. I'll never forget it. I hugged him back. Then I looked toward my grandchildren, who were running along the shore. For years, I had believed revenge meant making someone hurt the way they hurt me. I was wrong. The strongest revenge isn't destruction, it's transformation. It's becoming so strong that the people who once treated you like a burden realize they lost someone priceless. It's refusing to beg for a place at a table where you were never respected. It's walking away without bitterness. It's rebuilding your life so beautifully that you no longer care whether the people who hurt you regrets losing you. My daughter-in-law once told me I was too much trouble around the kids, so I stopped helping completely. And that silence forced everyone to confront what my constant sacrifice had been hiding, the truth about money, the truth about manipulation, the truth about family, but most importantly, the truth about me. I was never too much trouble. I was simply giving too much to people who had grown comfortable receiving it. And the day I stopped was the day I finally started living for myself. So if someone in your life makes you feel worthless because you stopped doing everything for them, remember this. You don't have to prove your value. You don't have to chase appreciation. And you don't have to destroy anyone to get justice. Sometimes, all you have to do is stop explaining, stop rescuing, stop sacrificing, stop begging people to recognize what you bring into their lives. Step back. Let them live without you. And if they finally realize what they lost, let them realize it from a distance, because the most powerful ending isn't watching your enemies fall. It's standing tall after they thought they had broken you, and realizing they never had that power in the first place.